A few years ago, my good friend Nicodemus gave me this old gun, and it was all rusted up, and but he thought it might look good hanging up on the wall out here at the cabin, and so that's what I did with it for several years. And then I took it down, cleaned it up a few years ago, disassembled it, and was surprised to see you could still read most of the markings on the gun. You can see it said full, that's full choke, 12 for 12 gauge. It tells here where it was manufactured and the patent dates. Several patent dates on there, and the last one that you'll see here in a member is October 16th, 1900. So that's, a lot of folks I think mistake that. They think that's whenever their gun was manufactured, and that's not it. That's the last date of the last patent that they got on this gun before they manufactured more of them. So I don't know. Last date on this one's October 16, 1900. I'll have to get the serial number, and through Winchester I can find out when my specific gun, what year at least it was manufactured. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, Winchester Model 1897, a real storied gun. Amongst the gun community, I've read that and heard this before, that it's widely considered one of the best pump action or slide action shotguns ever produced. And in fact, the U.S. military liked it so well they contracted with Winchester, and they bought a number of those rifles in a little bit different format, a little bit different barrel, longer magazine, so it would hold another shell or two. I'm not sure how many, and had swivels on it for gunsling, and it became known as the trench gun. So you can just use a little imagination and think about that particular gun being used in trench warfare during World War II. So I'm checking it out there, making sure everything's tight. And before I shot it, I was a little bit nervous about shooting it, but I was pretty confident it wasn't gonna blow. So anyway, I went ahead and put a couple of shells in that tube magazine, and the ejector, or excuse me, the pump and everything, the action worked fine. And as you can tell, it did not blow up or throw any gas out the side or anything. It was solid. So my guess is, and I'll find out and report back, I'm betting that gun was probably manufactured in maybe the 30s or 40s. Could have been any time between 1900 and 1957, but I'm going to guess around the 30s or 40s. And as I was handling that gun, and thinking about it, I thought, man, this gun belonged to somebody. They got it new way back when. And back in the old days, particularly depending on how far back we're talking, people didn't own, if the average person didn't collect guns, they didn't own 5, 6, 8, 50 guns. I mean, they had, maybe one or two or three guns. And a lot of folks would have had a shotgun, maybe a rifle. Most people probably didn't have a pistol, didn't have a use for it in most cases. So that was a tool for somebody. That was certainly hunting, probably considered it to a degree, a home defense weapon as well, if need be, in the unlikely event. But anyway, I wish I knew who owned that gun and the story behind it. I find stuff like that really interesting. But I cleaned it up one more time, ran that cleaning rod down through that barrel just to be sure it's cleaned out, get the powder and stuff out of there, and make sure a mouse hadn't crawled in there when I wasn't looking or whatever, and wiped it down a little bit more and shot it one more time. But I'm gonna do a little bit more research on that gun, and I might even look to acquire another one that maybe is a little newer, and one that I could shoot more frequently. Although I'm going to shoot this one again. I was shooting low brass shells, what are considered game loads, so I definitely wouldn't shoot a magnum load in that, say a high brass shell that's got quite a bit more powder in it. And of course, this gun's just chambered for 2 3/4, and modern shotguns today are chambered, most of them for 2 3/4 and 3, and then of course some of them for with up to 3.5 inch, which is the maximum size for shotgun shell. But I shot her out one more time. Man, you gotta love that sound. I was just shooting at a stump, but that was sure a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for the feedback on that 629 post. Believe it or not, that got me thinking about that old gun there and doing a short little video on it. And so I took that other short post on that Smith & Wesson. I took that down and used a few clips off of that. And here in just a minute, you'll see me with that gun loaded up and shooting it down there in the range. But Nick, thank you again, man. Thank you again for that gun. I'll have to check out that ejector. That shell ejector wasn't working. I had to get that shell out of there with my knife. Again, not a big deal. I can probably figure out what that is. It may be that the shells back when that gun was made, they might have been slightly shorter than 2 3/4. Now that I think about it, I think maybe they were. I think those old shells were closer to 2.5 inches, and I bet you that's the difference. I bet that's why those didn't eject. So the Smith & Wesson Model 629 44 mag. Smith & Wesson, I didn't know this until a while back, but on their model numbers, if they put a 6 in front of the model number, in this case this is the gun that came after the Model 29 that has been around for a long time, they'll put a 6 before it. So it's a Model 29 stainless, but Model 629, and it's had a few changes since they originally made the model. I started making this 629, a few minor, I think maybe 6 or 7 minor changes to it. But anyway, I just put 4 shells in it, went down on the range, and shot 2 where you could see me shooting it, and 2 where you could see that 240 grain bullet hit the target. So that's a little test run on the Smith & Wesson Model 629. The forerunner to this particular gun was the Model 29, which was made famous by Dirty Harry, and I think it was the original Dirty Harry movie in the early 70s or so, when he had the line, he was drawing down on a fella, and he said, this is a, I don't know if he said Smith & Wesson or if he just said this is a 44 Magnum, but he said this is the most powerful handgun in the world. And at that time, that was true, the most powerful production handgun. Now, there no doubt would have been some custom-made pistols back then that would have been more powerful than the 44 mag. But as far as calibers, handgun calibers that were produced, manufactured, produced, and sold to the public, the 44 mag would have been the most powerful up until the time they came out. I believe the next one was the next most powerful one after this was a 454 Cassell. And then I believe after that it was a 480 and then a 500. And I don't know if they have anything now more powerful in a production handgun than the 500, but I can tell you 44 mag, they say, according to all the experts, everything I've ever read, is very capable of taking down any game animal in North America, any animal in North America, including the brown bear, I suppose moose, or whatever it might be. And having shot this gun over the years a few times, I haven't ran too many rounds through it, but having shot it and shot a number of different calibers over the years, I would believe that. That's the 44 mag. It's quite a weapon. My everyday carry, if you want to call it that. I checked that to make darn sure it was unloaded. I was confident it was, but you can never be too safe. But it is a caliber, 357 caliber. For those of y'all who don't know, the 357, I think Dirty Harry also made that one kind of famous, but before the 44 mag, the 357, I believe, was the most powerful gun if you take into consideration velocity, energy, and all that. Sure, I'm not a ballistics expert, but in any event, the 357 is a quite capable load, certainly for my purposes out here. And this is a 5-shot. I really like this this gun. It's a Ruger Model SP101 357 mag, and you can also shoot, as many of you would know if you're a gun person, you can shoot 38s in a 357. You can't shoot 357 loads in a 38 in a pistol that's chambered just for 38s, or a rifle for that matter. They do have some 357 rifles. Yeah, anyway, that's the deal for today. I'm going to go down. My plan is to go down here and set some fires and burn some brush, clear up some debris down here. So I want to continue to give these doggone rattlesnakes and copperheads less and less of a reason to ever come up here around the cabin and the barn. By keeping the debris out and the leaves blown out and stuff burned and picked up and all that kind of thing, there's less of a reason for insects, and insects attract things like lizards and frogs and mice, and then snakes go after those critters. And so it's a chain of events, I guess you could say. But bottom line, you keep the debris away, and you're gonna have fewer critters hanging around your place, which is an objective of mine, an ongoing objective. According to the experts, it is capable, with the properly placed bullet, to take down any North American game animal. I was just thinking how funny it'd be if, as I'm talking, an elephant or something walked up behind me here. We don't have a lot of elephants out here. Matter of fact, in 25 years, I've never seen even one.